Women of Reddit, what's a harsh reality you've had to accept as a woman? Being nice may make the boys think you are interested. And when you make that clear, a lot of them start treating you differently or just flat out ignore you after that. I had a manager at a restaurant like this. Once it became very clear I was never going to sleep with him, he went from being friendly and fun to suddenly treating me like shit. It totally ruined what had been, up to that point, a really fun work environment. I had a warehouse job building furniture. Good pay. I learned a lot. At first, the supervisor was extremely helpful. It took him about 2 months to realize he couldn't get in my pants. He then did things to put me physically in danger. When I refused to move something that required multiple people, I was fired. God, this is so true. I was friendly with a coworker because we worked together, so I wanted to be on good terms. Next thing I know, he's telling me that he wants to fuck me in detail. I never gave any sign that I wanted romantic advances, let alone sexual ones. I was also a minor at the time. I thought I had some great male friends in college, but as soon as I got a boyfriend, all my male friends just disappeared. It was shocking. I found this out the hard way when a coworker that I would occasionally chat with thought I was coming on to him, even though I had a boyfriend, now husband. And then he started confessing his love for me, and then started showing up in places I frequently visited, and then started getting uncomfortably close to finding out where I lived, and then started claiming I was performing witchcraft on him, and then freaked out on a bank teller claiming it was all my fault. When I was 15, I worked my first job as a receptionist. A married father of two whose kids were only slightly older than me wrote me a letter confessing his love for me, which included a gift of nail polish. It's even grosser for me to think of now than it was then. The letter was bad enough, but somehow the glittery nail polish was even worse because it showed that he was perfectly aware of my age. I was a 17-year-old intern in law office, and the friggin' district attorney would insist on giving me shoulder rubs. He'd text me outside of work hours, always about work, but it was still so odd. His daughters were only like 5 years younger than me. After I left, he was outed as having an affair with a college freshman-aged intern that replaced me, but still somehow stayed at DA for years. Yes, and even male colleagues who know you're taken and they themselves are happily married will say gross things to you like, "You're so fun and flirtatious." And when you say, "How am I flirtatious?" they say, "Well, you always have a smile on your face and say hello and ask me how my weekend was." Like what? I'm just being nice and treating you the same way I treat everyone, with kindness and shitty small talk. I have been trying to work out with a coworker for a month. One day I told him he looked nice with his new haircut, since I always read men never get complimented. Since then, he has completely blown me off. My husband he thinks I'm hitting on him, like WTF. I try to be nice to men because they say no one is ever nice to them, and then they think I'm hitting on them and then cut me off. Had movers at my house once. They got creepy until I casually mentioned that my husband will be home soon. He's a homicide detective and was called out. Movers were very professional after that. I wasn't married, but needed to shut them down. My serial killer husband, Ted Bundy, should be coming home any minute now. You should hurry. He loves murdering repairmen. Yes. Ugh. In my mid-20s, had two refrigerator delivery men start getting really chatty and saying, "It doesn't look like a man lives here," to try to feel out the situation. "Oh, my husband lets me do all the decorating. He'll be home soon." Which was true, but still. Shit like this really makes me appreciate my plumber. He's a rough-on-the-eyes 50-something with old-school tats, and almost certainly did hard drugs at some point in his life, but he's always super professional when he comes to fix things, gives good prices, and recommends other decent contractors. This is low-key why I prefer visibly older men in security/maintenance. No, I don't want the 29-year-old getting access to when I leave/come into my building or to a master key. Give me the guy who will gush about their grandkid and doesn't want to play superhero. I've heard of a lot of single women who will have men's shoes at the front door, so people assume she lives with a man. I had a life-size cardboard cut out of Obama in my windows that I would move around my apartment to different windows so it would look like a man was there. I'd close the blinds a little, so from a distance it was just a big dude in a suit. Here he is in all his sun-bleached glory. Asked a plumber once about moisture buildup in the bathroom. He made fun of me because there's a toilet bowl of water in there, to impress his intern. I told him sure, but I've used bathrooms my whole life and this one has a moisture problem. He just dismissed me and laughed some more. Eventually found out the water heater was leaking under the floor. Glad I rent. As a dude, it's really disheartening finding out so many guys are such creeps. I feel like sometimes men are a little put down for not calling out their friends who catcall and stuff like that, but honestly, we really don't see the super creepy stuff. because it's done when they're not around people they know. If you want kids, you have to run the chance of ruining your body in the process. The trick was to have a body that was never good in the first place. Big brain energy over here. According to my sister, pregnancy softens your bones, tissue, everything, makes your body ready for birth, but doesn't morph back. My sister said she doesn't fit in her pre-pregnancy nice heels shoes anymore, despite losing weight. Her bone structure just changed. 25% of women experience some kind of incontinence. About 1 of 200 women even suffer permanent damage to their colon and are not able to hold the contents of their bowels. And that's just a tiny fraction of things that permanently alter your body. I think those topics are systematically suppressed to not discourage women from getting children. I never read of those topics, only heard about them from friends who gave birth. Not to mention diastasis recti. I'm still dealing with separated lower ab muscles more than 2 years after my baby. My stomach muscles will never be the same. I finally stopped peeing my pants 18 months in. The incontinence thing is crazy because it doesn't have to be like that. 25% of women do not actually have to worry about peeing their pants every time they sneeze. In France, after you give birth, you're prescribed 10 sessions with a pelvic floor therapist for perineal re-education to help rebuild your hold in the pee muscles. They do not cost you anything. Many women are also prescribed abdominal re-education with a physical therapist. The province where I live has almost 5 million people, and in my last check, there was 1 pelvic floor therapist in the whole damn province. Had my last kid 4 years ago, I am permanently disabled. I developed something called pelvic congestion syndrome, and some days the pain gets so bad my husband has to physically carry me from my bed to the bathroom because any movement I make, even just rolling to one side, leave me sobbing in pain. And this is after a surgery that reduced my pain by 80%. And possibly your mental health. Hormones causing wild mood swings, depression, and anxiety, and sometimes kicking off severe mental illnesses that were just waiting to pop up eventually anyway. Pregnancy/childbirth is fucking scary, man. Even under ideal conditions, you're still growing a whole damn human inside you, getting your organs shoved out of the way by it, then birthing it, despite the near anatomical impossibility of such a thing. My mom had a barely survivable, at the time, premature birth. Then, a breech birth turned emergency C-section, which was so intense my dad hyperventilated and fainted, but that's another story. Then me. I appreciate being alive and all, but like really? You went through all that and decided, hey, I think I'll go again? Anyway, huge respect to any woman who chooses to have kids. And your career, income earning potential will suffer. If you quit and stay home, you are putting yourself in the precarious position of relying on the husband for income. That might work, but it might not. If you keep your job, then you deal with the comments, guilt, etc. and still earn less. The only way to win is not to play, sadly. I wish this was talked about more when we were children. Protecting us wasn't telling us that babies were delivered by storks. Protecting us would be telling us the risk of permanent mental and physical damage or even death before we fall in love with the idea of having biological kids. Yeah, why the fuck did I not know about the risk of various types of prolapses until after I had my baby? Also, I had a textbook delivery and got a second-degree tear. That's just normal. To rip your vag and have it stitched back up is just normal. And all they give you is Motrin and say, see you at your follow-up in 6 weeks. And yet, we don't have paid parental leave in this country. And also, childcare is unaffordable and barely available. American families deserve better. 90% of men can overpower you if they want. You can do all the weightlifting and self-defense and jiu-jitsu. They're still going to be stronger and there's nothing you can do about it. My cousin told me she asked her trainer what she should train for self-defense. He said sprinting. Yeah, we had a self-defense course and a few lectures when I was in school, and they all hinged on escaping, not winning a fight. If you're cornered, hit them once in an easy-to-hit place that will cause enough pain to slow them down like the nose or solar plexus, make as much noise as you can, and run. A lecturer straight up said to us, if you remember nothing else from this talk, I want you to remember this. Run. As a former self-defense teacher, the solar plexus is an awful target in a self-defense scenario. You are not going to hit it, and nothing around it is vulnerable at all. There should only be 2 targets, face and groin. Aggressively punch/slap at the groin and claw at the face. But no matter what you're doing, the only thing you should focus on is getting away. Even if you have the upper hand for a moment, your attacker is also running on adrenaline. He'll recover quickly and any advantage you might have had is gone. Everything you do should be in service to you getting away. Remember, your job is not to win. Your job is to survive. I used to do karate and kickboxing. Got a black belt. We were invited to do a woman's self-defense class and I got invited to help make sure forms were right. I'll never forget that the first thing we went over. Sensei came up behind me and picked me up. 6 feet 200 pounds versus 5 feet 100 pounds. Like it was nothing, you know? He said, I can teach you all kinds of cool moves, but it means nothing if I can just grab you. Go deadweight, bite, scream fire, scratch, whatever you need to flee. Otherwise, all this means nothing. I've only been in one situation where I was grabbed like that, and goddammit, he was right. Deadweight and bite and scream fire. Guy backed off real quick. The most effective strategy for women's self-defense is situational awareness and avoiding circumstances that could lead to danger. While some women may be capable of overpowering men in physical confrontations, for the majority, a weapon may be necessary. Physical size varies from person to person, but regardless, 4 shots to the chest can be lethal. As the old saying goes, God made man, but Samuel Colt made them equal, which also means that the biggest threat to women's defense strategy is the people pressuring and teaching women to give men a chance, and that they need to be nice and polite above their own comfort level. Women need to listen to their intuition. If a guy feels off, if a situation feels off, remove yourself. And if possible, do so in a safe way that makes others alert of the situation so that they know and can help. That reality of anyone can be the predator, family, friends, colleagues, or a random stranger, and that no matter how you dress, how you look, or how old are you can be a victim. Along with that, people don't take you seriously when you tell them about it. They'll turn it around on you and tell you how you could have avoided the situation. The only people who have ever believed me are women who have been through the same thing or doctors who have seen my injuries. Everyone else, it's my fault somehow. That when you end up the victim of rape or abuse, even in your own home, even if the abuser is a trusted friend or partner, someone will find a way to blame you, no matter what the circumstances. What were you wearing? Why were you there? Why did you provoke him? Why didn't you just leave? Why should we believe you? I broke up with an alcoholic, and after 2 days of threatening text messages, I filed a report with the police. I had my friend with me, and the guy cop came to take the report. He was so condescending. At the end of the visit, I mentioned I had work in the morning. He said, "Oh, you work?" with a chuckle. I wanted to flip on him. Of course I work. How do you think I pay my bills? And told him where, as it's reputable. The ex used to choke me out in sex to the point I would pass out, and he'd keep going until I would come to and flip. I had to hit him in sex to make him stop, and we broke up. I put that in the report. The ex then started sending me death threats, and the cop treated me like a child when I was afraid for my life. I'll never forget it. That my 2 daughters, statistically speaking, will be harassed verbally as even sexually by someone, likely a male. How does one prepare their daughter for this? Already at 13, she gets men looking at her. Last summer, as she got out of the surf, a man watched her and stared at her as she made her way to me. When she told me she could feel him watching her in the water, I stared back at him, and he got up and walked away. It's just so heartbreaking that I have to teach them how to be safe. I.e. walk with only one headphone in, don't go to the toilet on your own, don't make eye contact, run to a woman if you're threatened, tell an adult if someone hurts you, etc. Teach your daughter to run to an older woman, call her mom loudly, and say that man is chasing her. Most every woman will become her mom in that moment. Fucking menopause. So I went through early and rapid menopause, done before 38. My entire menopausal experience from before perimenopause to postmenopausal was condensed into an about 2-year period. 10 to 15 years worth of symptoms. In just over 2 years. It was fucking hell. Basically, my body said, fuck hormones, I am making that shit anymore, and all production shut down one day. Everything went bonkers in my body. I developed a spare tire overnight, even though I was still only 5'2" inches and 100 pounds. Like all my fat moved to create this spare tire rapidly. I lost most of my hair, literally 0 sex drive, ruined my 7-year relationship since I wasn't diagnosed till after the breakup. I stopped being able to sleep through the night. I used to be such a good sleeper. My ADHD got way worse. My memory was good awful all of a sudden. I had the worst time remembering basic words, and the night sweats. Oh God. My estrogen, testosterone, and AMH were all 0. Literally zero. My FSH was so high it couldn't even be measured. The results were just over 200 because the test only goes to 200. I had to be tested for a pituitary tumor. Nope, not that. Because the only mention in medical literature of FSH being even close to that high is in the presence of a tumor. The highest I could find in a search was 179. No doctor I've ever seen, most of whom have 25 plus years of experience, has ever even heard of it being so high, much less actually seen it. A friend had mild fertility issues, and when her FSH came back mid-30s, at 16, her doc said that was a little high. So yeah, menopause wreaked absolute havoc on my body and mind. I'm going to be on HRT for a very, very long time. I even take natural testosterone supplements in addition to the estrogen patches. The sups are great, actually. They definitely help and don't have the gross side effects of testosterone steroid prescriptions. I wouldn't say I'm 100% compared to my premenopausal self, but the hormones get me pretty close. So does the extensive weight training. I still don't sleep for shit, but my memory is better, my hair grew back, and I rarely have night sweats, and when I do, it's usually because I'm a day late on my patch. Hormones are awesome. I see people complaining about hormones sometimes, and I just think, you're going to be so sad when they're gone. I talk about my experience a lot because young women need to know that it's a possibility for them too. And doctors need to test for menopause early as well. I went to a free, and the one who tested my FSH did so on a whim. But at least she did. I don't think a male doctor would have. But so many women don't know that this can happen early. It common, like 1 in 100 before age 40, and 1% of those cases will be before age 30. We need to talk more openly about all this. For real. That sounds fucking terrible, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm in the losing hair, weight stall, zero sex drive, oh yeah, and currently on cycle day 39 today phase. Send help. 2 fresh zits cropped up this week. I'm sure that means my period is coming any day now, but FFS. Do or don't, this long drawn-out cycle thing is utter bullshit. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe and comment. Also, check video about mans. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.